So I've been playing Sword for a while now, so it's probably time to play a different class, and thanks to me pulling the Cerberus leader as well as 3 copies of Aragavi and 2 copies of Cerberus as well as an animated Medusa, I decided that today we'll be playing some Abyss. So this is my first day, I guess, of playing Abyss. I just threw together a bunch of cards. I'm not really sure what's good and what's bad on this class yet, so don't ask me. In the first place, Abyss is considered the weakest class, so it's hard for me to recommend you build any Abyss deck unless you really like this class. But yeah, let's look at the deck list we're playing for today. So this is the list we're playing for today. I went for a more control-oriented list. The last card you can't see is Calcutus here. Unfortunately, my Medusas are kind of split up because I don't have more than one copy of her animated, so it's kind of gross, but just bear with it there. So running a bit of a control list because I heard someone say that Control Abyss is pretty strong, so I just went with a more controlling list. I don't really know what's the meta for control, but yeah, I'll just run a bunch of removal cards, some ward, some card draw, and then try to live to play Calcutus and then the Apocalypse deck to destroy your opponent's face. You can see this very disgusting chunk of legendary cards here at the end, so again, I would strongly recommend you don't craft this deck, at least based on this video. If you want to craft the Abyss deck, do your own research and look for an actually strong deck instead of this random deck that I just threw together after looking around the card pool for a bit. So yeah, let's look at some games we're gonna play for today. Our first game for today will be against Forest, and we are going second here. Against Forest, you probably want to keep stuff to deal with the early game like Mino and Arthurus here. Shadow Crit Memorial is just generally good to keep at all times, I feel. You also can look for Apollo because Apollo is good against Forest as usual, and then Ceres is just a nice bit of healing that opponents will have to invest some time clearing. Usually Ceres is better going first though, so there's that, I guess, to keep track of. Anyway, against Forest, if they know what they're doing, it's pretty hard to win, but if they don't know what they're doing, then it's not too difficult because you have a lot of healing in this, or not a lot, but you have a decent amount of healing in this deck. So what the Forest needs to do is aim for an OTK with the Roaches, and if your opponent knows to do that, then you're probably in trouble because you have to somehow stay out of their lethal range while finding your own. But if they don't know what they're doing, they start throwing out all their resources like this and just trying to go for an aggressive game plan. You can just come back from it. This was when I was still running Bowmancer. I took her out of the deck eventually, but yeah, just bear with it for a while, I guess. There's more fairies from them. They will put the Lambent Chain, which will give them the 0-cost spell, and they just immediately pop it to buff, so I guess they have decided they don't need the buffs later on, which is fine for me. Let's go ahead and use Mino to trade here and pick up the skeleton. We can save Sarah so when we actually need to heal a decent amount, especially since we can pair her with Olivia for a very strong turn. And as you can see, we were sort of baiting our opponent lining up their fairies, so we can just go ahead and drop Apollo and just eat all of them. So to be fair, this is probably a Forest player who doesn't super know what they're doing against Abyss here. There's also, I think mid-range is becoming the main line for Abyss right now from what I've seen from poking around a bit, but I'm still playing control. So we just pass here, nothing to do. I'll sort of save these resources to answer my opponent's stuff instead. And then we'll drop the Olivia here and go ahead and clear that with the Aragavi and just pass here. If you want to go more aggressive, you can use Aragavi to poke face as well. I have a more aggressive game plan replay later on, but for now we're just focusing on the control style. We'll go ahead and trade off into the Lux here and just drop the Shadow Crit Memorial. And here my opponent is spending one of their Roaches and committing some of their resources here with the Roach to poke me in the face. I guess to set up for lethal like next turn or the following turn, but this is exactly what we want because then we can start popping our healing cards to undo basically everything they did. And here's the Ceres Olivia board that I said is very strong. They both are super evil, so they basically both are priority removal targets, and at the same time Ceres gets a barrier as well, so this board can be very difficult to answer. And then we just get a Tempo Skeleton out, mainly to just buff with Cerberus next turn. We can honestly have dropped one more skeleton, and then we can have burst them down for a lot of damage next turn. There's a Carbuncle to bounce the fairy so they can get enough play count to play Lily. This will allow them to full clear my board, which is good for them, I guess, as well as chipping me in the face and setting up Arya's effect, but you can see their hand is quite empty now, so that's good. Arguably, I should have went for a more safe play here and went for picking up the other dog as well so that I can actually heal instead of just going all in on damage here. I guess it's up to you whether you think it's good or not. We'll go ahead and summon a bunch of dogs here that will all do damage to my opponent's face eventually and just pass. You're looking at a lethal with either Aragavi or Cerberus next turn right now. My opponent will have this Glade as well as the Bale, which will allow them to I think it allows them to full clear here, but they will take a bunch of damage from it. Aragavi's... Oh, I don't have Super Evo, so I guess it's not a thing, but we do have Cerberus here. We'll go ahead and drop her to heal up as well as clear their board. Healing is important, of course. This maximize the chance of you surviving. At this point, we have a Evo point left, so we can evolve Aragavi for lethal next turn is how we're looking at. And then we go ahead and get our Cerberus, one to draw and also to deny them trade targets or fairies to reduce their play count as much as I can. Okay, my opponent will play a bunch of stuff here, doing a bunch of damage and redraw a new hand, but unfortunately for them, they are dead to Aragavi, so with a lot of healing, we can stay out of their lethal ranges while slowly chipping damage and gathering advantage on our own. Our next match here is against Portal. Against Portal, you probably want to play more aggressive because it's unlikely that you can out-control them. So it's a bit of a difficult matchup for this list in particular because it's very control focused. With a more aggressive focused list, you might have better chance odds against this matchup, I feel. Just go ahead and drop the Orthrus here as a follower that if they can't clear, they take some damage, which contributes to the goal. Pop that Shadow Crypt, so we go ahead and set it up. Shadow Crypt is very important for burst combos, as you will see later on in this game. So yeah, it's a very important amulet. I wish it was better, but unfortunately, even though it's not super strong right now, it is one of the key pieces for this matchup. So just go ahead and use Mino to get rid of their follower here. Nothing else we can really do. We don't really want to play Ceres here unless we want to, until we want to heal. My opponent will use their Fortifier artifact. I guess they have decided to go for an aggressive game plan to burst me down. Unfortunately for them, Aragavi is a very good card, so we just go ahead and draw Aragavi here. That will clear their followers, and we'll evolve him as well. We do chip ourselves down here, but on the other hand, that sort of baits my opponent into trying to aggro me down instead of like healing out of range, which is, I guess, something. They do heal here with Sylvia, which is unfortunate. And Aragavi will go down as well. I dropped the skeleton there just because I have no use for it anyway, so I might as well try to stick it on board to chip some damage. And here we will draw Aragavi and evolve him again to continue doing damage to my opponent's face. We want to get them down to 15, that's the magic number. My opponent will use Below from the Beyond here as well as Electro Whip Lasso. They are gathering their artifact pieces in their hand right now. And they will just pass here, which is fine. Go ahead and drop Ceres here and super evolve her. One to heal as well as put a very annoying follower for them to have to answer. Two to chip them one more damage to put them at our magic number of 15 that we want them at. My opponent will fuse and pick up the ominous artifact Alpha here, but unfortunately, I guess they couldn't summon the Alpha while dealing with Ceres, so they had no choice but to use Noah here and I guess look to heal next turn with the Alpha. But unfortunately for them, that means they are dead, so this is the classic Abyss Burst combo that I guess you should remember. It's a turn 8 combo, which makes it quite strong for a turn 8. So go ahead and pop both of these, and then we can use Cerberus to buff all of them. It's like Necro Impulse all over again. And of course we super evolve for a nice 15 damage burst, which is exactly lethal from this point. So it's a bit of an aggressive game plan that you can adopt. Our last game here will be against Haven, and we are going second. We just keep Shadow Crypt because it's good. We don't necessarily need our early game answers against Haven because, I mean, we assume it's control. If it's not control, we are honestly pretty favored anyway, so I don't really think it's necessary to mulligan, especially for it. If they're playing a more aggressive deck, we have a decent amount of healing and stuff to get out of their ranges. Of course, Lapis will be annoying if they're playing an aggressive deck, but, you know, not much we can do about that, I guess. We just go ahead and accelerate out Shadow Crypt in case we draw something good this turn. Unfortunately, we don't, so we just have a Shadow Crypt on board. And my opponent's Tigers come out, and I guess they pass, so this is like a slower deck, which is actually more annoying because slower decks usually run more control tools, and Haven has much better control tools, so we have that as an issue, I guess. Go ahead and evolve the Mukan to clear their Tigers and just pass. We could have popped this memorial instead to save the evil point, but I think it's probably better to save this for later on. I think being able to summon follows on demand is useful for all sorts of situations, so I usually value this Shadow Crypt on board quite highly and don't spend it unless I feel I really need to. Go ahead and super evolve Ceres here as an annoying follower, so I'll try to get them to use the 6-cost amulets so that we don't have to deal with those in the late game. Unfortunately though, my opponent does have Rodeo, so they will just clear the Ceres by super evolving him, and they get to save their 6-cost amulet, I guess. I don't know if it's pronounced Rodeo or Rodeo. I feel like Rodeo is the more English thing, but I don't know why I feel like Rodeo seems more... I don't know if correct is the word, but it feels like Rodeo is the pronunciation I gravitate to. Anyway, here my opponent just uses the Zeus spell and sets up another amulet, so I guess they are playing a control game here. Seems a bit weird to spend an evil point, but I think the card draw is there important in this deck. And we draw Apollo, which we don't need, so we just toss him out here as a body on board that can maybe chip some damage if my opponent ignores it. Opponent plays John here, a very weak John from them, which we are very happy to see. I guess their goal is to put out followers I can't clear, but we have Mukan here. And we pop the Shadow Crypt. We could have went Medusa here, of course, but I think Medusa will be more useful when they have more threatening boards later on in the game. And we drop Ceres here just as a bane that they have to sort of deal with to annoy them, I suppose. And they will use their Dose of Holiness to clear Mukan, but they leave the Ceres alive because probably Ceres is not a threat to them. And we'll just drop Cocytus here since my opponent has nothing else threatening me. And now the true game begins, I suppose. My opponent will drop the Cocytus off their Oath, and they will super evolve it to a Clear Mind, I suppose. And use the Dose of Holiness to clear Ceres as well, so I don't have a Bane to just cheese their Cocytus. Pick up Servant, which is not super useful, I guess. Go ahead and set up some wards here in case they do something annoying that I don't want to deal with. As well as just, I mean, I have to clear this Cocytus somehow, right? I don't really want to save the... I really want to save the Death Slash for later on. I was lining up some followers, especially Last Words. If they leave one of these alive somehow, then we could have used Astaroth, but they used the Grill, which honestly we wanted them to use the Grill at some point anyway, so it's completely fine. Here we are sort of forced to use Medusa. There are like other options to clear, but I think Medusa here is probably the most reasonable one. And we go ahead and drop the Servant here as a big threat for them to have to answer alongside Medusa. So they do spend their whole turn clearing it, which is very good because that's Silent Rider that's not going face. And we can go ahead and clear that with Aragavi. We save our heart removal, something big like Servant of Cocytus, of course. And we can just punch them in the face with our own Silent Rider. At this point, they are within Silent Rider lethal range. But we do pick up Demon or Purgatory instead, so not quite Silent Rider, unfortunately. We'll be able to clear that board while dealing a lot of damage to them though, so that's fine. And then we can use Death Slash to clear the Servant as well. Right now we have 2 Demons and 2 Silent Riders in deck with one of these, with 1 Servant and 1 Astaroth, so it's a 2 in 3 chance that I just top deck lethal here. So that is, I guess, the chance we're banking on right now. Since they do manage to clear my board here. And we do pick up Demon of Purgatory, so this will be lethal, so that's it for this game. Those are the games I have for you today. Hopefully it was fun to watch, I guess. Again, I would definitely recommend not crafting this class unless you really like it. And if you want to craft a deck, you should look for a better deck because there's definitely a lot of room for improvement for both my deck list and my gameplay, I think, for this class. I mean, it's the first day of me trying it out. I just wanted to just upload some stuff that isn't sorted and, you know, just have fun with it. Yeah, this is the list I played for today. Honestly, worked like decently well for me. Of course, some matches are very hard, but you know, it's a biz. What can you do about it? Anyway, that's it for today. See you next time. Bye bye.